What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today, we're going to be getting into my Week 9 NFL Power Rankings. Yes, that is right. We are halfway through this entire season. It's crazy to think about. But let's get into this very crazy weekend. This NFL is just insane right now. It's very hard to rank these teams, but I'm going to try my best at it. So let's get into it. But a team that I'm not too worried about putting at the bottom here, but I've said this before about a lot of teams, is the Houston Texans at 1-5-1. Yeah, this I think was their worst showing yet against a rookie quarterback-led Tennessee Titans team. They had a garbage time touchdown with about 17 seconds left, so don't put too much stock in that for them to cut that into a one-score game. That was just not a very good game for the Texans, and it's just getting worse down there. It's just continuing to prove why and how Davis Mills is not the guy. Let's move on to number 31. We're going to have the Detroit Lions staying at the same spot. A lot more competitive this week at 1-6. This offense got some things going. But the defense still clearly sucks for this team. Jared Goff still isn't it in this game. But clearly DeAndre Swift was a big addition back to their lineup. He had a good game as well as Jamal Williams for them. So they're going to lean on that run game quite a bit and play to Goff's strengths. But at 1-6 right now, this season looks over for the Lions, and they're going to be having a top-tier pick in the next draft, most likely. Let's move on to number 30, a heartbreaking loss for the Carolina Panthers, staying at the same spot at 2-6. Wow, you do not. That was very frustrating for Carolina. Their field goal kicker missed 2 field goals, one to win the game in regulation on an extra point, then in overtime, missed a field goal to win the game after they picked off Mariota. But the Panthers just couldn't quite get it done at 2-6 now. Maybe that's the best for them. Maybe they want to tank but be competitive. But yeah, still Carolina, they want to win those games, honestly. They want to win those types of games, and if they can win that game, they are right in the mix of the NFC South, 3-5. So that's very frustrating for the Panthers, but very much have been more competitive without Rule in there. So that's good for the Carolina. Let's move on to number 29. We're going to have the Indianapolis Colts. Going to be dropping down 5 spots. Sam Helliger, he didn't play bad. Let's be honest, he wasn't a liability for the Colts, at least in that game against the Commanders, but I think I went a little bit too easy on the Colts. I trusted Frank Reich a little bit more than I probably should have. This team is bad, just all around. Jonathan Taylor's their whole offense, and he doesn't have enough to carry this team to victories. And this defense has been very underwhelming. They had that game against the Commanders, couldn't quite seal it. It's just a disappointing Colts team. Yeah, this Colts team is just not good, and they were better off with Matt Ryan, but at least for now. But in the long run, it was probably smart to start Sam Ehlinger. So that is Indy right now, just not very good right now down there. Let's move on to number 28. We're going to have the Chicago Bears staying at the same spot, just getting absolutely obliterated against the Cowboys, and they traded away Roquan Smith, which is a big loss for them as well. But still, for Chicago, yeah, this defense sucks. It does suck. Matt Eberflus is trying to get the best of the defense, but with the lack of talent, you're going to have games like this where you give up nearly 50 points a game, and it just proved it tonight. The Cowboys were clearly the better offense to their defense. But, yeah, Justin Fields, had a much better game. This Bears team is looking a lot better, and they did just get Chase Claypool, I believe, in a trade. So adding a little bit of a weapon down there in Chicago for Fields, you like to see it. You like to see it for Fields. You're starting to see a little bit more development. He really started the year bad, but he's looking better now. And even if Fields isn't the guy, that's fine because they got a lot of draft capital. All right, let's round out this bad tier with the number 2017, the Washington Commanders. The Commanders barely beat the Colts, just buried by McLaurin, getting a touchdown to win that game. Well, not get a touchdown, but Taylor Heineke put it in the end zone. So the Commanders, good win for them. They're 4-4 right now. A lot better than I was anticipating for this Commanders team. I do think this team's still a bad team. They went up against a struggling Packers team last week, and now they go up against a very bad Colts team. I still don't expect this team to make the playoffs, but right now they're right in that mix. We're going to have to see if they can keep going. I'm not going to move them up too much this week. I got to see if this defense can keep being consistent like this, like they have, because they were not looking good to start out the year. But good win for Washington. That is for dang sure. Let's move on to number 26 and into the decent tier. We're going to have the Pittsburgh Steelers jumping up a spot. My opinion doesn't really change in the Steelers. They just ran into a horrible matchup against the Eagles. Kenny Pickett, obviously, he does not have a lot of help there. This is clearly a rebuild year anyway for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But their defense has gotten a lot of question marks figured out over the past few weeks, and that's really why. I mean, it was just a bad matchup for the Steelers in the first place against Jalen Hurts coming off a bye week. So I'm not going to take too much stock in a loss. I do still think this is a very good coach team, and they're going to be still, I think, a gritty football team. Let's move on to number 25. We're going to have the Jacksonville Jaguars dropping down 3 spots. Another disappointing loss for the Jaguars. Man, Trevor Lawrence really has taken a dip ever since week 3. I mean, it's just he's completely taken a U-turn. Just making bad mistakes, not being that quarterback that we thought he was out of college. Also, the play calling hasn't been good for the Jaguars over these past 5 losses in a row. This Jaguars team just, they were looking on top of the world earlier on in the year. But now this team is just not it. This team is definitely not it, and you can see it. The defense definitely has taken a step back. Yeah, the Jaguars are not good. We're going to have to see if they can turn things around, but I do not expect this team to make the playoffs or anything. All right, let's move on to number 24. A very impressive win this week for the Cleveland Browns, jumping up 2 spots on Monday night, just completely out-physicaled the Cincinnati Bengals in that one. The Browns have been known to kind of own the Bengals over the years. Over these past couple of years. And it's proven here. The Browns just ran the football a lot with Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb had a really good game. Jacoby Brissett hanged on to the football for the Browns. And then this Browns defense finally took a big step in the right direction against the Bengals. If they could keep that going, we're going to have to see if if I could take this team a little bit more seriously right now. At 3-5, good win for them. But I'm still, this is all about the Browns just staying afloat for Deshaun Watson to come back. We're getting there. It's almost there. Can they get maybe like 1 more win, 2 more wins, be at 500-ish? We'll see if that's enough for them to make the playoffs. So that is the decent tier. It is very much thinning out over the weeks. We're going to have to see if it keeps thinning out. But let's go into the In the Hunt tier. A lot of teams in this tier now. There's a lot of spots open at this point on in the season. Wow, it is big. It's a big tier. But let's get into it. Starting with the number 23 team, the Falcons, jumping up 2 spots. This team is on top of the NFC South right now, shockingly. Coming into the year, this is my worst team in the league. And I'll raise my hand and say this: I doubt the Falcons in Arthur Smith's system because he has done a very solid job for this offense. And they just had a shootout with the Carolina Panthers. Were able to barely win that game to stay on top. And you like to see it. The only reason they're really in the hunt tier is because they are in the NFC South with the Bucs and the Saints, who are all struggling. I do still think they are better football teams than the 3 we listed before, but yeah, the Falcons, very impressive win over the Panthers. Not impressive. They just barely came away with that one. So you like to see it if you're a Falcons fan. Let's move on to number 22. We're going to have the New Orleans Saints at 3-5. Just absolutely manhandled the um, the Las Vegas Raiders in that one. Big win for the New Orleans Saints. This offense, Andy Dalton, it doesn't get enough credit. In the last game, Andy Dalton threw 2 picks, or 3, or however many, but 2 of those were not even his fault. That one pick six was, but the other one wasn't. The first one. So you can't really blame that on him. I think he's getting too much hate right now, and it showed on this game. He's had a good offensive system. The defense finally took a step up, shutting out the Las Vegas Raiders in that one for a big win. So if you're a Saints fan, you gotta love it. Right there at 22, jump out of a spot. Let's move on to number 21. We're gonna have the Arizona Cardinals staying at the same spot. At 3-5, Kyler Murray and the Cardinals got a very frustrating loss. I mean, they had a lot of opportunities to come back in that game and tie it up or send it to overtime. And Kyler Murray and the Cardinals office just could not get the job done. It's just been a theme for the Cardinals. I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's just a tough season so far for Arizona. Still don't trust this defense too much. They've had 2 bad weeks in a row. Last week they may have got a lot of turnovers, but that was just, I would call that a lot of that luck. Against the Saints. But we're gonna have to see what the Cardinals look like. They got a must-win game this week against the Seattle Seahawks. But my opinion doesn't change as a football team for the Cardinals. They're gonna be staying at the same spot, but we're gonna have to see, man. Cardinals need to win a game here. All right, might be a controversial here, but number 20, I still have the Las Vegas Raiders. I know the Cardinals and the Saints have beat them this year. But drop it down 8 spots. It's well-deserving. I'm just going to get to the negatives of the Raiders here. Wow, Derek Carr, he looked bad. He looked really bad in that game against the Saints. Right when I was starting to trust the Raiders, that happens. And I don't even know. It's just what the NFL is at this point. I don't know. I'm going to give them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. They have so much talent. And Derek Carr was a solid quarterback last year. I don't know what's going on with him. Crosby, on their defense side of the football, it really is all Crosby. They need to get some better pieces there. Chandler Jones has been disappointing. Their secondary sucks. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know how much else to back up the Raiders. They have a lot of talent. It's just McDaniel's got to get some things going. I still think this team is a better football team than the Cardinals and the Saints, even though they lost to both them. But they got to figure some things out and fast, because they could be very in a hole if they lose another one. Let's move on to number 19. The New York Jets are going to be dropping down 2 spots at 5-2. Man, the New York Jets, clearly the loss of Breece Hall is going to be a dip for the Jets, because Breece Hall brought a big piece to this offense, really lifted off some of the mistakes, or lifted off the pressure off Zach Wilson. I think he was a very good running back. Now he's out. Their offensive line is struggling. And Zach Wilson, man, he's just trying to play too much hero ball for the Jets, and it is not working. They need him to be a leader and not like a crazy maniac chucking balls all the way out and to be intercepted. Disappointing loss. I still think this defense, very good defense here in New York, but there's only so much a defense can do when your quarterback is turning over the ball left and right. We're going to have to see if Zach Wilson can recover. I still believe in him as a quarterback, but he's got to figure some things out. Let's move on to number 18. We're going to have the Denver Broncos jumping up 2 spots. I know the New York Jets beat the Broncos just 2 weeks ago, but I'm going to be honest. I think if Russell Wilson's in that game, the Broncos are probably winning it. So Russell Wilson and the Broncos took a big step up this week against the Jacksonville Jaguars. If you're a Broncos fan, you love to see it. They did just lose out of Bradley Chubb, so it might not be a good day for them, but they did get a first-round pick in return. It's frustrating for that. I think the Broncos might be showing that they've given up on this season, even with a good performance against the Jaguars. Um, I still believe in Russell Wilson and what he can do. This defense is still elite even without Chubb, I think. And I think the Broncos are going to be fine for this year. I think they're going to be in the hunt for some time. And got a big win that last week against the Jaguars to keep their season alive. Let's move on to number 17. We're going to have the Green Bay Packers jumping up a spot at 3-5. The Packers, they looked better this week against the Buffalo Bills. Much better for Green Bay. They start to run the football a lot. Aaron Jones was a very good running back for them. These receivers have played much better that game against Buffalo. Aaron Rodgers had probably his best game so far this season. And the Packers looked a lot better now. It's still not good in Green Bay. They didn't really make any moves for the trade deadline. Really anything that can help this team win. It's disappointing if you're a Packers fan, I would think, but I don't know. I mean, the Packers are still 3-5. They're still in the hunt of this bad NFC conference. So at this point, they're just hoping to slide in the playoffs. We're going to have to see what happens. Let's move on to number 16. We're going to have the New England Patriots. I know Green Bay, another one of these situations that Green Bay beat New England, but I do think if Mac Jones is playing that game, New England probably walks away with the win. They're going to be jumping up 3 spots. Got back to form this week against the New York Jets. Bill Belichick had a good game plan for Zach Wilson in that game, and it just shows how good of a coach Bill Belichick can be. There is a lot of lack of talent on this team, I'll be honest. The defense is meh, honestly. They don't have a lot of playmakers, but Bill Belichick very much carries this team to victories week in and week out. And that's really all it takes for the Patriots to be a successful, well, at least a decent enough team now. I don't know how long Bill Belichick's going to last in the NFL for this team to be that good, but they got to get some talent back. Because clearly this team is never not going to win a Super Bowl or anything. They're just going to continue to be competitive. We saw it last week. This team can have stinkers to the Bears. So maybe I'm jumping them up too much here, but I still think it's worthy of it. All right, let's move on to number 15. We're going to have the Los Angeles Rams dropping down 5 spots here. Rams just come off the bye week. I think Sean McVay had a good game plan for this game. It was just not enough, though, for the Rams. It just clearly was not enough to win this one. This offensive line still sucks. They had a good game plan in the first half to roll Matthew Stafford outside the pocket and limit these 49ers to not too much on him until the second half where the Niners just got after him. And it was ball game. This Niners offense clearly outmatched the Rams defense, and there was nothing the Rams could have done about it. This team just has been frustrating, and they don't really look like a scary team right now. So that is the in the hunt tier. Now we're going to go into the playoffs tier. Starting with number 14, we're going to have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Dropping down 3 spots. They're in this playoff too because of the NFC South right now. And a lot of the NFC teams haven't really impressed me. I do think there's still better teams than there are better teams such as the Rams or the Packers. But, Tom Brady's Bucs. Just another frustrating loss against the Baltimore Ravens. And Shaq Barrett goes down for the year, so that's going to be a big loss for this defense. It's frustrating for the Bucs. This team had a high expectations coming into the year, and it has gone all south so far. We're going to have to see if Tom Brady can recover. Right now, he's in a very bad NFC South, so I do think they'll still win this division by the end of the year, but we're going to have to see if they can because it's not looking good right now. Let's move on to number 13. We're going to have the New York Giants actually jumping up a spot even with the loss to the Seahawks. Still the same Giants I've known all year. Just a competitive team. They're very well coached. but lack of talent is there. It's clearly there, and they're not going to be able to um, win a lot of, they're not going to be able to win every game with that lack of talent, even as well coached as they are. Just very conservative team, very safe team, and that is how they've won 6 games this year. Just have gotten lucky near the end. Um, Good luck, I would say, like luck that's been used to their advantage. I don't even know how to say it, but putting themselves in situations to get lucky like that. And that's what happened. But then you play the Seahawks, they muff 2 punts. That's not the formula to success for a team like this. You're not going to win games like that with this little of talent, and it showed. But still think the Giants, very well coached football team, and clearly Brian Dable's done a very good job. My opinion hasn't changed with them. Let's move on to number 12. Go to the Los Angeles Chargers, jumping up a spot at 4-3 just because of their bye week and because of the Rams and the Bucs dropping. And then number 11, we're going to have the Seattle Seahawks jumping up 5 spots at 5-3. Big win this week for Seattle. Now it's time to start taking the Seahawks seriously. They're near this top 10 here. Geno Smith looks like an MVP quarterback, top 3 quarterback, I say, behind Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. It has been a very good start to the year for Geno Smith and the Seahawks, and this defense is getting some things figured out. This whole team looks very good. I think a lot of people underestimated how good of a head coach Pete Carroll is. He just establishes a winning culture down there in Seattle. He develops this rookie class, has been excellent for the Seahawks, and it's just been a very good start for the Seahawks, and you love to see it if you're a Seattle fan. Let's move on to number 10. We're going to have the Tennessee Titans jumping up 5 spots. Took care of business against the Texans team. Just clearly were the better team. I just think I had this team too low, and a lot of teams just did not look good this week. With the Raiders dropping down, Chargers, Buccaneers, Giants losing. I think it was time for the Titans to be taken more seriously. Let's move on to number 9. We're going to have the Cincinnati Bengals dropping down 5 spots. A frustrating loss for Cincinnati against the Browns. I think the Jamar Chase injury is going to be a tough one for the Bengals to swallow. Until he's back, I think that's when we're going to be able to see an explosive offense again. But I think that's going to be very similar to what happened last year with the Cardinals and DeAndre Hopkins. Joe Burrow just clearly does not have an offensive line to work with here. This defense is mediocre at best. And, without Jamar Chase and that playmakers, it's just tough to win. But you can't drop them down too much because they looked way good a couple weeks ago. It's just how crazy the NFL is this season. They're only going to be dropping down 5. Let's move on to number 8. We're going to have the Baltimore Ravens dropping down a spot at 5-3. A big addition getting Roquan Smith. That's big, but other than that, my opinion doesn't change on the Ravens. They beat the Buccaneers. Good on you, but I still don't trust this defense. Roquan Smith is going to make their defense better, that is for sure, but still, this defense isn't good. Lamar Jackson can look like a top-tier quarterback at times. He can also look like a quarterback that is giving away the game at times. And what are you going to get week in and week out? I don't know. And that's just not the recipe for success to win a Super Bowl, I think, for the Ravens. This team's a very good team. I just don't think this team is a contender team right now. So that is the playoff tier. Let's go into the contender tier. Starting with number 7, we're going to have the Miami Dolphins jumping up 2 spots and into the contender tier. Tua Tagovailoa looked like his former self from earlier this year in this game. Through 3 touchdowns, just tore apart the Lions defense, which isn't hard to do, but he did it in a very good way. Tyreek Hill has looked amazing. Jalen Waddle looked very good as well. This whole Dolphins offense is clicking, and they're happy to have Tua back right now. I think I was just waiting to see how Tua is going to look, and they have, their defense struggled, but they just added Chubb, and that is going to be a big addition off the edge for the Dolphins, probably even bigger than Roquan Smith for the Ravens, I think. And the Dolphins defense looks very good. This offense is elite, it seems like at times. So you love to see it right now. I think the Dolphins are already a contender, and they should be taken seriously. Let's move on to number 6. We're going to have the Minnesota Vikings. Man, at no point this year would I think the Minnesota Vikings would be a contender, but I clearly underestimated this team. I'll put my hand up and say I was wrong about the Minnesota Vikings because Kirk Cousins, he's still Kirk Cousins, but he's getting them wins, and they've won 6 games now here, and it's time to take them seriously. They just added T.J. Hawkinson, which is just another weapon to this Vikings offense. Justin Jefferson clearly is one of the top tier receivers. You got all these playmakers, Dalvin Cook, obviously a top running back in the league. And then their defense is that Zadarius Smith has been a very good piece for that defense. And this team looks much better than I thought they would be. So you got to give your hats off to the Vikings. Very impressive win over the Cardinals. Let's move on to number 5. We're going to have the San Francisco 49ers at 4-4, jumping up a spot. San Fran, clearly Christian McCaffrey has been a game changer for this team. He is doing a lot on that offense, even through a touchdown pass against the Rams. Jimmy Garoppolo, I think, is getting too much hate right now. He's honestly been a decent quarterback, even though he tries to turn over the ball once or twice every game. But he's still getting the job done for this Niners team. Now, they did look bad a couple weeks ago against the Chiefs, but that was just because they ran into a very angry Chiefs team, and that's fine for the Niners. I still think this team's a top-tier team, and I think that now their defensive pieces are coming back. This team's just gonna be just fine moving forward. Let's move on to number 4. We're going to have the Dallas Cowboys also jumping up a spot here. The Cowboys just taking care of business against the Bears. This offense looked way good against the Bears, just completely tore apart that Bears defense that clearly was lacking talent. Dak Prescott, getting him back's been big. And then if you look at this defense, it did struggle against the Bears, which is kind of questioning. But it's just one game. You can't ignore what they've done like every other game this season. And I think the Cowboys are just going to be just fine. All right, the top 3 teams. I think it's pretty easy to say at this point. Number 3, we have the Philadelphia Eagles, the only undefeated team remaining. Just completely manhandled the Steelers. Jalen Hurts looks like a top quarterback all season long, and the Eagles defense very good as well. And then number 2, the Kansas City Chiefs on bye this week. Same Chiefs, stay in the same spot. And then number 1, the Buffalo Bills taking care of business against the Green Bay Packers on Sunday Night Football. Josh Allen continues to look like the MVP quarterback. I know he made some mistakes, but this defense is elite for the Bills, giving it right back to their offense in good scenarios, even when their quarterback can struggle at times. This is just clearly the best team in the league and the best 3 teams, in my opinion. They might even have to have a tier of their own right now, the way they're playing. So anyway, guys, thank you all for watching this video today. Hopefully you all enjoyed the content. Comment down below your power rankings. And anyway, peace